Welcome to the Media Blender, your source for news, views, and information you can use here in Windsor, Essex. I'm your host, Adam Albaba. Border crossing guards have received some attention from the Prime Minister. The media has been reporting on a briefing note that says guards are waiving duties for Canadians when the goods are below a certain amount. Windsor's Chamber of Commerce President Matt Marchand co-created a resolution last year about this issue.
We have trade agreements, we do have legal requirements with respect to purchasing goods and bringing them back into Canada, and all we're suggesting is that those rules be enforced at the border.
Local bridal shop owner Nellie Saman has had customers buy dresses in the U.S., only to purchase a second in Canada.
I see it a lot with brides that come into here after they've already purchased in the U.S. They come back and they regret because they realize the prices here sometimes are better. The quality's exceptionally better here in Canada. And what they end up doing is they end up purchasing a second dress.
Some Windsor shoppers, like Marty DeMayer, shop in Windsor for the service, while Denise Very finds that shopping in the States always ends up costing her more.
I have a 21-year career in retail management, so I've seen a lot of stores go under from lack of support, and so I try to support privately owned businesses first, and then I go to big chains after that.
The CBSA says there are no personal exemptions for Canadians traveling to America for less than a day. Stay over 24 hours and you can bring home $200 duty-free. With the summer holidays approaching, it is important for people to be sensible when it comes to alcohol consumption. Binge drinking, drunk driving, accidents, and fatalities all increase during the holidays. Darren Breckles tells us more.
With St. Patrick's Day just behind us and summer-long weekends ahead, it's a good time to talk about excessive drinking. For most, these holidays are a chance to socialize with friends and have a good time. For many, the good time goes too far, however. The statistics are alarming. Excessive drinking costs the U.S. economy more than $220 billion annually in lost productivity and absenteeism, or about $1.90 per drink, according to the Centre for Disease Control and Prevention. Many St. Patrick's Day revelers far exceed Health Canada's recommended daily limit of 2 to 3 drinks daily. Having more than 5 drinks in one sitting is considered binge drinking, according to the clinical definition. North Americans in general and Canadians in particular drink more than 50% above the global average. We have a more detrimental drinking pattern than most EU countries, and with more binging, according to the Centre for Addiction and Mental Health. So with the summer backyard and patio season fast approaching, this is Darren Breckles for the Media Blender, reminding you to think when you drink.
Darren Breckles reminding us why we think before we drink. When the Seattle Seahawks won the Superbowl in 48 in February, there was a local spin to their big win. The Seahawks rookie tight end Luke Wilson, hails from LaSalle, has played for the Essex Ravens and graduated from St. Thomas of Villanova High School. Luke sat down with the Media Blender's Kyle Simpkins in this edition of 5 Minutes With.
Luke, thanks for joining us here today.
Appreciate you having me.
Obviously, you're a busy guy. I mean, how much has your life changed since you became a Super Bowl champion?
You know, a lot more media stuff and that kind of thing, but it's fun and it's a cool experience for me personally, and to have that attached to my name, a Super Bowl champion, is a pretty cool. It still hasn't really sunk in yet, so I can't complain about it at all.
You obviously have the athletic ability, but there's so many people that have the athletic ability to make it in the NFL. Who instilled the work ethic in you to maintain it and stay in the NFL and get through Division I college?
I attribute a lot of that stuff to my dad, and actually now I say it, both my parents really, just the kind of the way I was raised and the upbringing I had. My dad was a pretty good athlete growing up here in Windsor, and just some chats he gave me when we were younger. I mean, even times when I was at Rice in college, I remember one camp I was really struggling, kind of going through some adjustments, and he actually flew down there and kind of spent a couple of days, and just little things like that really kind of pushed me through to keep working and keep grinding through all the tough times.
You mentioned Rice. How much of a culture shock was it moving from LaSalle, Ontario to Texas, to Houston, to play football, where football is king?
That was something that people always ask me, what's the toughest part, and going down to college. Don't get me wrong, there was a lot of things that were challenging with the football, but like you said, it's really just a completely different culture, and you go from LaSalle to I mean, we were smack dab in Houston, Texas, 5 minutes from downtown, right in the medical center. And, I really enjoyed my time there, but it's just, things are different, and it kind of gives you a different perspective on the world, even though, again, it's not like you moved to a different continent or anything, but just going that far, I really had a hard time kind of adjusting to just, even cultural and social norms. But like I said, I'm really glad I did it, and I've had that experience, and it's at the end, I made some of my best friends down there, and it's been kind of cool for me.
Take us back to the first time you stepped onto an NFL field.
Yeah, it was a pretty surreal experience. The first time I was on an NFL field was a preseason down in, we went to San Diego, and at the time, Zach Miller, our starting tight end, was injured in camp. So I was out there for the first drive of the game, and, it's one of those things where you don't really have time to sit back and be in awe. But, now that I've done some reflecting, I was sitting there, I'm a 23-year-old just coming out of Rice, like you said, kid from LaSalle, Ontario. And, you sit out there in the huddle, and you got Russell Wilson across from you. And I don't think Marshawn was playing that game, but, numerous times.
Surrounded by superstars, right?
Golden Tate, Doug Baldwin, Sidney Rice. And I'm just like, wow. But at the same token, though, when you get around those great players, it really propels your game as an athlete, to try and match their level. So I think it was really a big help for me.
It took 14 weeks, but you got your first NFL touchdown. Take us back to that.
It's a funny story, actually, because it's a play-action route, and I actually have an option to kind of keep it on the over or go straight up the near hash. I know that's a little football terms for the fans that don't know football, but it's based on it's a coverage read. And I was looking at the far safety, and he bit so hard on the play-action run that I thought it was a cover 3, which means the middle of the field was closed, and I kept it on the over. And watching it again on film, the safety just kind of was out of position, and it was a blatant misread by me. But Russ adjusted, and thankfully, with the huge play action and the bite by the safety there, I was able to catch that ball and kind of made things a little more difficult on myself. But it was pretty cool. As I was crossing the goal line, it was a pretty euphoric moment.
Not to mention you burned Patrick Willis on the play, which was pretty sweet. At what point on the sidelines during the Super Bowl did you and your teammates oh my God, we're going to win this game?
For me, I think it was when Percy Harvin returned the kick in the third quarter. Because, you never know with Peyton Manning. And we were up, I believe, 22-0 going into the second half. And I was like, we need to make sure we get through this third quarter and keep rolling and keep our foot on the gas. And you could tell when they kicked that ball off and we scored, it just took the wind. Anything left they had, it was pretty much gone, and it was pretty much smooth sailing from there.
One more thing real quick. What's next for Luke Wilson?
Hopefully we can put together a dynasty at Seattle and keep winning and stacking up these championships.
All right, Luke, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on the win.
Thanks for having me.
Kyle Simpkins, Media Blenders reporter, on this edition of 5 Minutes with Luke Wilson. What's a special event that you can attend in Windsor this week? Let's see what Lubna Fawaz has for us.
Want to meet the next Miss Universe Canada? It's easy like never before. Meet us Friday, March 28th at 7 p.m. at downtown Windsor in the Vivid nightclub, The Bang. Buy your ticket now for $25 and you might win a diamond necklace to shine yourself like a queen. Official introduction of all contestants at 8:30 p.m. sharp. Don't be late for your chance to shake a beauty's hand. For more information and reservations, text 519-567-1785, 519-567-1785, or email vip@thinkwindsor.com.
Wow, that does sound exciting. I'll be there for sure. Remember, you heard it first here on the Media Blender. Now, a new viral video has Windsorites talking. Dubs in the Air by Icky Eric, whose real name is Eric Smythe, created the music video showcasing his memories of the Rose City. While he has received positive attention for the song, something that there is something missing. Clara Muska spoke with Michelle Soulier, outreach coordinator at Windsor Arts Council and co-founder of Broken City Lab, about what he could have done differently.
I think a lot of the content, the lyrical content and even some of the imagery that exists in that Dubs in the Air song is reinforcing kind of this same negative attitude that exists around our city. It's not promoting a forward-thinking vision. It's kind of just making Windsor seem stuck in where we are. If you think of our downtown core and the culture that exists there, and how that culture is perceived by the majority of our city, we have Americans that are coming over here on the weekend and getting wasted and puking on our streets. We have a lot of underage drinking, or it's a drinking culture that exists in the downtown core, but that's changing, and it has been for the last 5 years. And I'm really looking forward to some of the things that happen in the downtown core that are kind of an alternative narrative to that culture, such as the Downtown Windsor Farmers Market and the Downtown Windsor Business Improvement Association. There's, some action groups that exist in the downtown core, places like Milk and Fog, even Coffee Exchange, or the Green Bean Cafe at the Windsor Star Cafe. All these places are kind of providing an alternative space for things to happen and grow beyond that narrative that we're stuck in. Being someone who lives here and who works here and who's very much involved in the arts and culture in the region, my perspective varies from Eric's perspective insofar as I find that Windsor is a place where I can continue to be and exist and make money as a cultural provider, as an artist. And I don't need to go to Toronto to kind of make a name for myself, because Toronto's scene is very established. It's hard to break out in Toronto. And it's kind of ironic for me, if Eric Scholes were to move away to Toronto to make a name for himself, that it kind of is ironic in a way that he made a name for himself by making a song about Windsor. I think a lot of the press that he received was quite positive, and I think that's awesome. It definitely helps to bring attention, and it creates an avenue for discussion. And at the end of the day, to me, that's important. Whether you agree with Eric's message in the Dubs in the Air song or not, I think that by providing that information to the general public here in Windsor, Eric's creating a point of discussion that people can echo his reflections and his ideas about Windsor, or counter them with other ideas that may exist. But without his video, the platform wouldn't exist for that kind of means of communication and discussion. But for me personally, I'd like to move forward and think about the future and how things can improve and grow and change culturally in our city.
That was Michelle Soulier, co-founder of Broken City Lab, with her thoughts about the new viral video, Dubs in the Air. Since then, a new video about Windsor has surfaced called 519 by Jarrett Sorko. And that's all for this edition of Media Blender. Be sure to tune in next week. I'm your host, Adam Albaba.